Hello, welcome to this week. My name is Jelili Adebiyi Adegboyega. I'm today's host. It is great to be with you, and we are happy that you are here to spend time with us live or after the event. This week is a live bi-weekly discussion on Saturdays at 2 p.m. UTC time, 3 p.m. West African time, 4 p.m. Central African time, and 5 p.m. Eastern African time. We discuss about current events ranging from pop culture to politics from across the continent. This means everything from comical to serious. We welcome you to engage with us in the comment or at leadersofafrica.org/live. Join our Discourse community and of course, hit that subscribe button to subscribe to the Leaders of Africa on YouTube. Karibu, Ekabo, welcome. Hello, Peter, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic this week and today as well. It's just good to be here. I know we got a lot of things going on in the news these days, so I'm just excited to hear what is on everybody's mind this week.
That's good to know, Peter. I can see that you're laughing a lot, Gloria. How's it been with you as well?
Good. You know what? My mind right now is officially in holiday mode. The only struggle that I have is to decide which movie I'm going to be watching this December period. I am so happy. This is my favorite month, y'all.
I'm so happy for you. Eva, I can see that you are putting on a very beautiful attire. What's happening?
Well, I'm also in the holiday season. December is the best month. So just being a holiday excitement. So Gloria, like you, I'm also looking forward to watch some Nigerian movies.
Oh yeah, same. There's something good coming up. Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
We'll come back to that later. And Violet, what has been on your mind?
What has been on my mind has been something that I'm extremely, extremely excited to talk about. But you didn't ask me how I am, but I'm fine, Ghana. I'm okay. Absolutely. Well, closed mouths don't get fed. So yeah. Okay, yeah. What's been on my mind is something that I'm really, really excited about and very proud of. And Gloria, I'm so happy you said that you're looking for movie recommendations. I think I have the perfect one in mind. And for you, Eva, as well, especially that you mentioned you wanted to watch something Nigerian best. Well, here is the story, and here's been what's on my mind. So, a lady by the name Blessing, who is a Lagos-based geologist, finally put out Nigeria's first animated movie, and it's called Lady Buckit and the Motley Mopsters. I am very, very proud of both the woman and the story, and I will tell you why in a minute. But just a little bit about the story. So this animated movie features a curious little girl who accidentally gets transported through time. And it is set in a little town called Oloibiri. Nigerians, please forgive me if I butchered that. A town in Nigeria South where oil was first discovered in 1956. And the movie's dialogue also features local Nigerian languages like Pidgin and Yoruba, and it also does have some English. And I think what's really taking up my mind about this story is that as much as it's like the first animated feature film in Nigeria, one, it's been it's the brainchild of a woman, and then two, it has come through so many challenges and roadblocks to get to where it is at the moment, because she talks about how when she wanted to start this movie, the feature film, she gave it to Nollywood's someone in Nollywood who is very good at producing movies, and as much as they accepted to do the job, they weren't able to produce the work. And then she tried giving it to, and that was after 2 years and nearly spending $40,000. And then she decided to give it maybe the US or Asia to produce the movie for her, but it was way too expensive. And then here's the interesting thing.
That's to be expected. Yeah.
Yes, she decides to do it on her own, and then she gathers, a local team to help her build the thing. And I mean, Ghana, no shade, but Nigeria is very famous for power cuts. And so the power cuts were a very, very big problem. And then COVID-19 came on in. But they were still able to get through all of this. And I am very, very, very proud. And the reason why I say that this movie says so many things about Africa, it's a story of resilience, a story of resourcefulness, a story of determination, a story of hope. And, and this gives me so much excitement and the power of women. This lady is a geologist. She's not even a movie person. And I am very, very, very proud. But at the same time, it does highlight some of the challenges on the continent, like, a lack of infrastructure. For example, when we look at the power outages and the interruptions and, producing this movie. And then she tried to even get funding from the oil and gas industry, but nobody was willing to fund her because apparently they didn't understand what she was doing, and then, after a while and almost $1 million later, the movie is out. And now everyone is celebrating it as, Nigeria's first big animated feature film. And I'm like, side eye when she was producing this thing. Well, so yeah.
You know what? Yeah, I wanted to jump in there. You said something that was kind of interesting. The issue of the power cuts and all of this.
Right.
Like, people don't realize this, but producing a movie that has animations requires an intense amount of computing power, right? It's not something where you can just take a camera and a few boom mics and things of that nature, go on set. And we've seen that, and we've definitely seen some great quality coming out of places like Nigeria, right? And finding and landing on Netflix. So we've seen that. But like, doing an animated film takes this sort of technical capacity, computing capacity. So it's more than just a creative venture. It's also a very technical venture. So that's why I think it's taken so much time for this to sort of be to come to light, right? Because it takes so much time, so much money. And I remember in other countries around the world that had their first animated film, how big that was, right? And one of the big films in the global market was a film called The Toy Story, and it was 100% animated film. Maybe some of you have seen it. Some of our audiences have seen that movie. It's quite global, right? And everyone was just marveling at sort of how they were able to string together all that animation, all that technical power, all that creativity for a full feature-length film. And that's what this is. This isn't just like, oh, let's do a short clip, because we've seen those. We've seen those on TV, right? But this is a feature-long movie. So it's just fantastic. I just wanted to jump in on that. It's just amazing.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you mentioned the power problem, because they had to constantly use 4 large volt diesel power generator to produce film. That's a lot of power.
Wow. You know what? This story is definitely something to be celebrated everywhere. And the one thing that stands out to me, I mean, everything about this story is just amazing. And the one thing that I want to highlight is how she assembled her team. And initially, it was just so amazing. Initially, they thought, okay, who's going to work on this? Because we've never produced something like this in Nigeria. But when you start looking, talking to people, we realize that the skills are there. It's just a matter of identifying the right people, bringing the right people together. I mean, this is so encouraging to know that we've got the skills. We may not have the infrastructure that are built yet, but people have what it takes to pull out big things. I mean, like this movie.
Exactly. And I mean, it's featuring the voices of very, very high-profile Nigerian actors like, Boyle, Akintola. I can't remember their other names, but this is really, really huge. And Gloria, like you rightly said, that we do have the skill set, because I mean, they used it's an all-black produced thing, and it was one of it was from one of the training schools for animators run by a gentleman named Adedayo, and everything was Nigerian, and I am really proud. Congratulations to you, Blessing, if you're watching this, and to your crew, congratulations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what I really love about the contribution is this, and it's the story of resourcefulness of our women in Africa. When I was growing
Absolutely.
up, I knew that there were a lot of challenges that communities, families were facing in Africa. And at the core of
Mm-hmm.
advancing people through these problems were always women, our mothers back home, our mothers in different communities. Our mothers never
Right.
gave up. And I think that is the story of the resourcefulness, of the determination, resilience of our women. And I really want to believe
Absolutely.
that it is that that has been keeping Africa, keeping us going, despite the tremendous
Absolutely.
challenges that we are facing on the continent. And I think we really
Right.
need to highlight resourcefulness and that resilience component of it. Because in all of these challenges that Blessing went through, she never gave up. She was constantly
No.
looking for opportunities. And that is one lesson that actually came across to me. And it's something that I've always applauded about our women, their resourcefulness, their determination to make things happen. And I'm aware that is the
Right.
situation in Ghana, that's the situation in Uganda, that's the situation in different parts of Africa, that story of resilience. So I was wondering, what do we consider this to be? In terms of the notion that African women, they are marginalized, they don't have that competency to do. Is that not busting the myth?
So I want to jump in on one point here, and I think it's something that Violet referenced about blessings. The sort of the producer and the driver of this project is she did come from significant wealth, right? We have to keep that in mind,
Exactly.
right? So she is somebody who is a geologist in the oil and sort of natural resource
Gas
industry. As you
industry.
know, Ghana, that's one of the biggest or the biggest industry in Nigeria, right? So we're talking about challenges, persevering over these creative challenges, but we also need to know that the opportunities to do some of this work are oftentimes very exclusive, right? To those who are willing to
Absolutely.
spend their own money, right? And so I think one of the things that I reflect on with this movie is I think it's not just a matter of having more investment in this sort of field of animation, of filmmaking, but ensuring that those opportunities are widely available to all the creative Nigerians that are present there, right? So I think we can learn
Right.
and we can be excited about this project. We also know that we should be, spreading that opportunity for others. And I think that's going to be key going
Absolutely.
forward.
Yeah, yeah. I wish,
That
Absolutely.
even brought that up. Eva, you
yeah,
can
I
go.
wish there would be.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wish there would be much investment in young people that are doing animation because when you watch YouTube, there are a lot of Nigerians that have created these short movies, short clips about with
Yeah.
animation, talking about issues on the continent, issues in their country, and things like that. So the talent is there, as you guys have already stated. The talent is there. It's just the investment. It's just government and
Right.
also private people putting in money behind these people. Imagine this lady has the talent. Imagine she didn't have the wealth herself. Imagine she didn't have
Mm-hmm.
the right people investing in her. Then we would not have
Mm.
seen this movie, right?
Absolutely.
So the truth is, on the continent, the talent is there. In Ghana, the talent is there. As I said, even during this COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of innovative things came out of the continent. Even Ghana,
Right.
Nigeria, and all people invented things. Senegal came out with a kit that cost just a dollar. So the talent
Mhm.
is there. There are a lot of young people that are doing this that is on YouTube. So investment is what is needed, and our leaders need to turn their attention into investing into our young people because, as we always say, they are the future, and they are also the majority of the people. If you
Right.
don't invest in them today, when are you going to invest in them?
Mm-hmm.
investment, investment is the talk. And I think I had this experience when I did my first documentary. When I finished from the University of Lagos as a very young guy, I was very,
Oh, you did a
creative, thinking.
documentary? How come I haven't watched
I, I, I,
it?
I, I, I,
It's out
I
there. It's
even
out
became,
there.
I
What
even
have
became
I
a publisher.
told?
I even became a publisher because I wrote a book. I wanted to get the book published, and there was no sufficient resources for me to do that. And one of the things I learned when I was a student, when I was actually contesting election on campus, was to learn the art of publishing. One of my roommates taught me how to do the job. I went to the places, to the industry, and I set up a mini publishing some application thing in my room, right in the university.
Right.
I do everything on the computer and then get it to the printouts and things. So when I was done with the university program, I had the interest of writing a book and I did author the book. And I also said to myself, I'd love to convert this book into a documentary. And I started the process knowing nothing about how to shoot a documentary. I did the
Wow.
storyline, just meeting with folks and everything. We put it together. And we had this problem of power cut. But the drive then was that we need to get this thing done. We need to change the narrative, tell people that even when there are challenges, you can still make things happen. And I can see
Right.
this in the story of Blessing. I won't think it's because she's from the oil industry. I want to believe it's a story of determination, the story of writing a narrative, changing the narrative, telling people, in spite of these tremendous challenges, we can always change things. And this is the thing that actually resonates with me in the story of Blessing. Our story is the story of many Africans. Our story is the story of our people, their enduring spirit, the creativity that challenges have brought out of them. And this is why, personally, I think the Nigerian government should do well, giving her a national prestigious award, so that will serve as encouragement to other people. And I think that is possible. That is possible. More so that the government is talking a lot about supporting women to get things done, to drive the concept of change that they have been advocating in the country. And Eva, over to you. What is on your mind?
Yeah, before Eva goes in, I just want to play the little theme song here that they play. So let's see if it plays through here.
And then I would like to say just one little thing when you are done, Peter.
Oh, awesome.
It's very catchy.
So there we go. We got the little theme song there.
Yeah, it's really, really catchy. And to those of you who are in the diaspora, both Nigerians and from other countries, it's set to be released in cinemas in the UK across North America. So watch out for it, and I hope you enjoy it. Oh, it was yesterday, the 11th of December. So, yay!
Yay!
Yeah, I'll look forward to it.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, I want
so
to
you finally have something to watch, Gloria and Eva.
Yeah.
You have it.
Yeah, this is definitely number one on my list. Next week, I have to look for this movie.
Yeah, I want us to travel to Tanzania. Let's move away from Nigeria a little bit and talk about what is going on in
Okay, what
Tanzania.
has Magufuli done this time? Okay.
Magufuli.
My
Yeah,
favorite
President
president.
Magufuli always has a story every week. So this time he decided to replace a nominee for who has been appointed to be a minister for mines, a deputy assistant minister for mines. He's going to
Why?
replace the guy because the guy couldn't recite the oath that he's supposed to take for his office really well. So the guy is called Francis Indulane, and he was given the oath to recite it. The guy was fumbling. He couldn't recite it really well. He was repeating himself over and over and over. And later he was
wow.
told to sit down. Then Magufuli came out to say that the president came out to say that he's going to replace the guy. And it was,
What?
people were like, why? You are replacing him because he couldn't read it really well. Like that was the reaction on Twitter. And they were like, probably he was tense. Like he was tense
Yeah.
because of the whole event with the people there. That is why. Because the guy, it looks like he's qualified because he went through his CV before he was nominated. So for him to come out there and find it difficult to recite the oath, I just feel like he should be given another chance. But the president said, no, I'm replacing him. I'm going to bring in someone who can recite the oath or who can
Oh,
read the oath really well. So for me, I'm like, wow.
This is some next level silliness, really. I'm just
I
trying to understand what's going on here.
That is
Is
what.
the guy illiterate? Is that he could not read, or it's just that he was stressed or tense the way you said it? What is the real story here? Because I'm confused. Did anybody watch that video?
I did. It was kind of strange. So he's like starts it and then he sort of stops and then they talk to him and then he starts it again. And then eventually they're like, hey, you should sit down. And then they pan to this lady in the audience who's like, kind of shocked. And a few people are in the audience that are shocked. And then the news covered some addition. So the officials then sort of addressed the issue in a sense, talking about their CVs, their qualifications and things. It was all in Swahili, obviously. My Swahili, admittedly, is rusty these days. It's been some time. But they were talking about the qualifications of the ministers and things of this nature. And they were laughing about it. Some of them were laughing about it in the audience just a little bit or chuckling to themselves about this whole thing. But it's kind of interesting because it feeds into that sort of that whole image that Magufuli has of himself, right? That he's sort of not tolerant of quote unquote incompetence, right? So his early days of his term, he was talking about firing people, for showing up to work late, things of this nature, right? These disciplinary actions. So perhaps this sort of fits in with this broader sort of image that he wants to portray of himself and what that particular incident highlighted for him and was an opportunity for him to have a sort of a teaching moment, so to speak.
Oh,
So this
teaching
was
moment.
all
I still
about
think it was great. Because, I mean, actually, when you mentioned the fact that Magufuli is known for his no-nonsense attitude, this was an opportunity to show that he doesn't have like the time and the patience for incompetence. Something quite crazy crossed my mind, and I was like, okay, since it was that he was struggling to recite, and I was like, okay, so are they trying to tell us that he was planning to commit all this corruption and embezzlement, and so he didn't want to be held by the oath because he was already having prevented thoughts, and he was like, okay, I'm tying myself up. That is wild. But on a serious note, though, I thought it could have been stage fright, and perhaps they should have let him, have water and then try to dismiss him like from his position. I mean, really?
It was a long oath.
I
I don't know if you see the
Yeah,
video. They hand you a sort of you can see it on the image here. Let's put that back up. They hold up this page-long oath, which is backed by the colors of the Tanzanian flag. You can see it in the gentleman's left hand here in the screenshot. So they got to read through this, and every MP just gets up there and reads through this entire oath, right? And so I was wondering when I saw this, like, how do oath lengths differ across countries? Was this just a very, very long oath? And also I was thinking, how does delivery of oath differ across countries too? Because oftentimes you have an official sort of prompt all the words is sort of like repeat after me. Like when you get married, you're like, repeat after me. Because I know if the priest said to me to recite my marriage vows from my mind, I'd probably fumble around too. But of course, he's feeding me the words every few words, and then I sort of keep on track, right? And everyone, as you said, Violet, can get kind of nervous in those moments. So at least from my own personal experience, having not taken such an oath, at least at this point in my life, I sort of was thinking about that moment that many of us can relate to, right? Our marriage vows.
Yeah, I mean, I just find there's so many problematic things with this story, the process itself. I would assume that when you nominate somebody prior to taking the oath, there's a preliminary interview where you meet with the president, where you discuss and you get a chance to assess the person's qualification. You can't just dump a person at that stage. It just doesn't make sense. And like you said, Peter, that is the final step. You get there once you've went through all the steps and you've asserted that this is the right person. That's how I mean, this story is just so weird. African
I actually think it's more about Magufuli than about that gentleman because, that's all I say. At this point, I'm speechless because I mean, okay, so how is he running other spheres of the country, and how is he dealing with policies, and how much thought is he putting into his execution if everything is just sort of like snapped like that? I don't know. Oh, and then one question, Peter, is he literate? can he read Swahili? Because that could be another thing. Someone can read English but may not be
Yeah.
able to read Swahili. So maybe that is where the problem was. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was part
Yeah.
of it because, as many of you know, in Tanzania, Swahili is like one of the most important pillars of the country, right? Kiswahili. It brings together, sort of Arabic speaking cultures as well as the Bantu speaking cultures together in
agree.
one language. It's a unifying language. Julius
I
Nyerere put a
agree.
big emphasis on it, right? And knowing and speaking it and doing it well. You know the joke, Violet. I think you know that Swahili grew up in Tanzania, it matured in Kenya, and it died in your home country of Uganda, right? We've heard that one. So I think there's more to this than just sort of qualifications, but it's like you need to know our language well. You need to be able to speak that language because it plays such an important part.
Speak a language but not be able to read it.
It's true.
No,
Arkel's
actually,
English was perfect and couldn't read.
I doubt that Swahili is the problem here. I mean, this is a person who grew up in Tanzania. I don't know of any Tanzanian who grew up in their own country and can't speak Swahili or even read it, because in Tanzania they teach Swahili up until university level. So I doubt that the language in and of itself was the problem. It's just that the guy was stressed out. Like Peter just said, these are just
Yeah.
moments in our life where we are tense and we can't do things properly, and that's what it is.
Yeah, the optics don't look good. So yeah, I agree, Gloria. I don't think it's the language per se, but it's like the optics of it, right? And when you listen to the recording, he's tripping over Swahili words, and people are wondering, like, okay, like, is he learned? Like, does he know it's just like questions. The optics don't look good. Even as you said, Gloria, it's like, and Violet, you said earlier, it could have been like this, heat of the moment kind of situation.
Yeah, I think that it's okay because I mean the truth is he has gone through a lot of stages. So I don't think I believe that they should have given him a second chance because he was nominated. He has to go through vetting and it's a long process. So if he had made it to this point and he come and stand here and he's just fumbling, reading the oath, I think he should be given a second chance. Tell him to go and practice it and come back and read it. I think there should be some leeway here because I remember in the case of Ghana, there have been situations where some MPs, some ministers are invited and they are being vetted and they ask them to say the national pledge and they also fumble, like they couldn't say it well, but that wasn't a cause for them to be disqualified. It's happened. I think the national anthem and they're just tripping over words, but it has not been the cause for disqualifying them because the people are qualified. They are looking at their qualification. They're looking at what they can do, It's just that it's an embarrassment if you come and stand there and you can't sing the national anthem or something like that. But this is just an oath that is not available as to anyone. And as you said, he's reading this long oath. So he's just, I think for me, looking at the things, he's just tense. And he made effort to read it over and over and over. But yeah, but I think because he was also taking a lot of time reading it over. So the best thing is like, hey, go back, go and practice it. Let's come back and do it again. So I think that should be the case because I think he's indeed qualified for the job. And this is like the last stage of the of everything. So he should have been given a second chance.
Well, I haven't seen his CV. So.
We all know he's not getting a second chance. We all know Magafuli. We know that's over for this guy, and that's really sad.
Oh, he was replaced. He was replaced by someone else. That's sad. That's really sad. I'm heartbroken.
you go from like one of the best days of your life to one of the worst.
Yeah.
We wouldn't wish that on anyone, but that's sort of what happened here.
And that was what I was really concerned about when I watched him taking the oath. I was really worried about the state of mind of his family. I was really worried about the state of mind of his friends because that was meant to be their moment. One of them, a very loved person, somebody they were going to be proud of, suddenly became something of amusement nationally. And this is not a local event. It's an event that was being broadcasted nationally. So I really felt sympathetic with the family. And I also felt that the moderator, they could have done things differently. They could have introduced a kind of amusement, saying that, oh, Mr. Minister, we understand there's a lot of excitement for you to perform. And we know you're a little bit overwhelmed. And, can you please sit down and come back to take your vote? That possibly could have
Right.
settled him to do just
Yeah.
very basic thing. And because I felt the moment it got into that tension, what came to my mind was experiences of some of our students, when they panic in examination, it's very difficult for them to get over it. But you have somebody who's a
Absolutely.
very experienced supervisor, you can actually transit them through the process. So I think the component of handling was one of those missing link in the situation that emerged. I'm so sympathetic with him, just like everyone. I'm sympathetic with the family. And I've always been asking myself, if the kids ask Dad, what happened?
What
How would that
happened?
explain that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the kids will feel, how it's going to feel. Hopefully, he gets over it and is given another chance because I felt really hoped it's not a mayor of his capability to perform in office. He possibly might have some issues with stage fright, and I feel that is not enough to judge maybe he's not competent or not. So I agree with what that has been said on the story, but I'm just more interested in that human component of it. How do we humanize the process
Yeah.
of handling crisis such as this? Any thought about this?
Oh, I completely agree with you that even though, it's, uh, we're talking about politics or we're talking about performance and delivering and being results oriented and all these things, we still have to humanize the process. And you are very right. And we're just human beings struggling to get along. And sometimes people do have bad days. We don't know what happened in this gentleman's life that morning or whenever the oath was taken shortly before. We don't know. So life happens to us all. I think it's
Yeah.
very yeah. At the end of
I
we humanize this process.
Yeah, leadership matters here for me in different places. Like Eva just brought an example of something similar happening in Ghana, but they handled it differently. So for me, I think again it all falls on leadership and how they choose to handle crisis like this. But as we have all said, this was definitely not the way.
Absolutely.
Eva, what is on your mind today?
Oh,
I'm
can I just
thinking,
jump in
yeah.
very quickly? I'm sorry to cut you off,
Is that
Eva.
Gloria?
Yeah,
Yes.
that is me. I wanted to. I know Eva is something, but no, I want Eva to tell us about the election. I saw there were new developments in Ghana when it comes to the election. I don't know if this is what Eva had in mind, but if not, please, I want to learn more about the election.
Oh, yeah. And I want to jump in here before Eva goes, because we talked about this issue of animation and the creativity around animation. So I want to play a short clip that went viral and was popularized not in 2020's election, but their last election, Ghana's last election, 2016. And also, this is paying homage to somebody we talked about a couple of weeks ago that was the late J.J. Rawlings. So you can see him in this video here. So let me roll that for you.
Ghana man.
Oh my
Mamba.
goodness. Oh yeah.
This is all we need. Peace, unity, and stability. Feel love.
There we go. We see the excitement. There's the president. Look at those moves there. All right. Yeah. So we got some fun animation right there going on, political animation.
I love it.
That was and I
really
just love how agile they all are. And I'm like, okay.
There we go. Former presidents, past presidents, and now a late president. Wow.
Yeah.
So Eva, coming back to Gloria's question, what were the stakes in this Ghanaian election that just happened this week?
So the election was run smoothly, as was indicated by the international observers, and also in the country. But there were a little bit of tension here and there. But everything has been resolved. So the election was between. We had other candidates, but the main election was between the MPP, the New Patriotic Party, and NDC, the National Democratic Congress. So the MPP had President Nane Akufo-Addo, who is the current president of Ghana, and NDC had former President John Dramani Mahama. So it was a tight race. Personally, I was expecting Nane Akufo-Addo to win by a landslide because in Ghana, most of the time, they give every president like 2 chances. But former John Mahama, we remember that in 2012, he became the president because Professor Atta Mills died and he continued his work. So he was given another chance. So most of the time, Ghanaians in their mind believe that Mahama has served and the NDC has served like 8 years. So this time he wanted to come out and win the election big time. But unfortunately, on Wednesday, the EC declared that the election has been won by Nane Akufo-Addo. As you can see, this is the result that we are currently seeing now. And also, this is the result that has actually been projected by the media over there. But the funny thing is, if you look at the parliamentary seat, last 4 years, the MPP won the parliamentary seat by they won the majority of the seat. They had 169, and the NDC had 106. And in Ghana, in parliament, there are 275 seats. So this time is really, really close. You could see that the NDC has really won even more seats from the NPP people. Most of the NPP people lost their seat in parliament. And currently, we are just waiting for just one seat that is going to be reported really soon. They are still counting that ballot. I think somewhere in Techima, that is in the central part of Ghana. So they are still counting that ballots, so we will know. But I'm sure that this is really close. Going into presidency or going to rule with this kind of parliament is going to be really interesting, really tight. And the funny thing is that the guy that won as the independent candidate was formerly an MPP guy who lost the primary and he decided to go and run as an independent. So when he said he was going to run as an independent, the NDC people, the MPP people kicked him out of the party. But fortunately for him, he won. So right now, people are saying that is he going to work with the MPP or he should work with the NDC? But people are suggesting that he should work with the NDC because the MPP people didn't treat him well. But we are yet to know where he's going. But so far, it's really a tight race in parliament. You have almost like equal seats. And at the presidency level, Akufo-Addo won, and we were not surprised that he was going to win because there is also this thing that he started. So let's give him another chance to finish the race.
Yeah. That is a dangerous enemy to have in parliament. That one gentleman, the one who became an independent. Wow. And I'm just curious to know, Eva, do we know why, despite Nana winning the election, his party did lose quite a significant number of seats to the NDC?
All right. So there was this question of most of the MPs, like people were really concerned that some of these MPs didn't perform, like the constituents really held them accountable. They were saying that some of them didn't really do at the constituency level. So they want to change and bring in someone different. And the other thing is that some of the MPP people, what I heard is that they imposed some of the MPs on the people, right? They decided to choose certain people to run for the primary. You get it? Instead of the ones that the community decided that they like. So this also affected them at the ballot box. And I think the funny thing that came out was somewhere in the northern region, one guy lost his seat because the people in the community said that since they voted for him and he went to parliament, they've never heard him speak on national TV or they've never heard him taking any deliberation in parliament.
Wow. Accountability.
But for me personally, I think it's good. It tells you that Ghanaians are awake. I mean, you can't just come
Attention.
in every 4 years. We don't hear about you. You come in when you need our vote. Because there are some towns, there are small towns and villages where you go there and you ask yourself, are there MPs there? Are there people here that talk about your issue at the national level to ensure that you too benefit from the national cake? You get it?
Right.
And most of them will tell you that they are MPs during elections. They will see them coming around, but after election, they don't see their whereabouts again. So people
Wow.
are waking up saying that no, we voted you here to go and represent us. So if you don't come back and help us with some of the issues we have to change you and bring in someone. So it has happened. That is why MPP lost 30 plus seats. And it was really
Oh,
shocking. It was really shocking. Yeah,
that's
they
a
lost a
lot.
lot of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I have another question. Ghana compared to other countries in Africa, I find that the political system, the atmosphere is better to a certain extent compared to countries like the Congo, even Tanzania we're talking about, where politics are quite a challenge right now. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious, how do people feel about the electoral process in Ghana? Like, are people trusting this outcome? Or, because I read some place where people saying now there was corruption and all of that. I'm just curious, what's the general sentiment?
So at this moment, if you are in like the incumbent, like if you are an MPP person, you are happy that your party has won again. But if you are an NDC person, you are not happy. And this time, people are not happy because the EC is changing figures. You get it? The figures is changing on their website. At first, they reported that Nane Akufo-Addo won the election and he had a percentage of 51.59%, right? And Mahama had 47 point something percent. But later they came out to say that, during the press conference, the EC came out and said that during the press conference, I actually gave the wrong figures of the total ballot that was cast. You get it? She indicated that 13.4 million people voted. But that wasn't the right figure. The right figure was 13.10 million, like 10 million plus people voted. So there was like a difference
Okay.
between 300 votes. So right now, people are like questioning the credibility of the election and of the results, right? And also the NDC people are saying that the pink paper, the pink sheet, is the final sheet that all the parties was signed before they send it to
Okay.
the EC, read the election out. The figures on some of the pink sheet they signed has changed at the EC's office. So there's a lot of
Interesting.
discrepancy in results right now. Even right this one, I was reading that in the eastern region where I come from, in Ghana, there have also been some discrepancy in the figures. The EC reported, the NDC people said that they signed one figure, but when you go to the EC website, there is another figure there. So people are like, what is going on? Then the EC came out to say that, I am sorry, it was an oversight. I made a mistake by mentioning this figure, but actually this is the real figure that I'm supposed to mention. And people are like, you can't make a mistake like this. There are some mistakes you can make, but this is an election, because elections, people's lives are on it. And I mean, any trigger or anything you do can result in violence. But fortunately, we are in Ghana, so Ghanaians are really calm about it. What people are encouraging the NDC people to do is to take it to court for the court to settle it, because Mahama had come to the press conference and saying that he's rejected the result that was cleared. It wasn't fair.
Wow.
Massage figures, because the figures that they receive is different from the figures that the EC mentioned. So right now, people are saying, okay, take it to court. So they are preparing their case to court. But I'm sure that in a week or two, we will hear that there is a court case about this election. And for me personally, I was like, I was really, questioning the credibility of this election, and actually questioning like the competency of the EC, because you don't make such a mistake. This is an election, and this is a national election. People have invested millions into this, and they want something good to come out of it. So right now, everything is calm now. Ghanaians have known the story. Like, people are still talking about it. Why are figures changing? So I'm sure the NDC is going to pursue this at the court level for the EC to come and defend herself. And also the NDC will come out with their evidence, and we'll see what will happen after that.
Yeah, and can we put up some of the figures from civil society now? Let's try and put those up. Yeah, so one of the things you see in elections is what we call a parallel vote tabulation, where they send out domestic observers, so usually a platform or a group of domestic observers, to go to polling stations to observe and sort of statistically, note down the results, right? To observe and note down the results, and they give a statistical estimate as to what that actual vote total nationally was. And so on the screen, you can see the PVT, or parallel vote tabulation, from the civil society group or umbrella sort of platform called the Coalition for Domestic Election Observers results. And the results there, the official EC results, I believe, Eva, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but these are the results before the correction of the Election Commission. And so the EC being the Election Commission here. And so what they do show is that the parallel vote tabulation from civil society observers includes within its margin of error, because every statistical type of study has this sort of margin of error. The actual, even the older estimates fell within that margin of error that was estimated for each candidate. And it's important to note that that margin of error is fairly big. So if you look at Nana Akufo-Addo, for example, that margin of error was 1.2%, which is, based on the new estimate, could be inclusive of under 50%. And why is that significant? Well, in Ghana, they have the 2-round system. So you must get more than 50 plus 1% of the vote. So it may not be such that one candidate, it may be the case that one candidate get more than the other, but it's whether they got over that 50 plus 1, then they can sort of arrange, do the horse trading afterwards, kind of figure things out, and then run in a runoff, right? So in the current situation, the original results as well as the corrected results, Nana Akufo-Addo, the current president, has over 50 plus 1. And that seems to be in line with what the citizen observers have found through their parallel vote tabulation. So as much as we may sort of throw a lot of cold water over the election and over the sort of the conduct and the competence that many people have been emphasizing on Twitter for the Electoral Commission, or EC, we have to keep in mind that the final figures, although corrected, may not be off the mark, right? And I think this is a critical thing to keep in mind. The last thing I'll note is that when it comes to a court case, and this is really key for election court cases, you have to prove that there was significant concern, right? There were certain problems with the process, right? And oftentimes courts have this test that it has to have influenced the outcome of the election. Although from my perspective, I don't think that's a very good test, because there can be a lot of election malfeasance that you don't know whether it or not it may have influenced or not the outcome of the election. Maybe the number of votes, perhaps, but in theory, some parts of the process could tilt it some way. So the point is that it seems like this election result will hold despite some of the concerns of the NDC, that is the opposition party of John Mahama. It appears like their quest for some sort of mitigation probably will fall flat, but we shall see. Anything can happen in these court cases, as we saw with recent cases in Kenya and Malawi, and Malawi just happening this past year. So just throwing that out there.
But my concern is this. A lot has been said about the quality of election, especially in Nigeria, because people were contrasting the election in Ghana as something that the United States possibly to learn from us. And at the same time, I was contemplating personally on how the collation process can actually be improved. Because situations where we have issues with numbers that are changing, at certain level of the collation process and at the level of announcement of the numbers, with the electoral commission officer telling Ghanaians that a mistake was made in terms of the number that was read at. I feel that that couldn't have been if there is no complications or issues, gaps that needs to be fixed in the collation process. because one of the things I've always applauded about the election is that it has always been something very positive for African countries, other African countries to learn from. And I was just wondering what our thoughts are about what needs to be changed in the collation process of electoral results in Ghana. Any thoughts, Eva?
Yeah, I think for me, I felt like um, she should have taken her time because this system, they've used this system over and over and over. And even in this election, we are using more like a lot more technology. Computers have come. We have computers now that they are using for all these processes. But I just feel like they should have taken a little bit. They should have had patience, although there is pressure on her to announce the results. So due diligence were not done in terms of making sure that you had the right figures in front of you. Which she said it was an oversight, but she's gone back to change it. But I also feel like in our election processes, we need to invest more in our elections in African countries generally, because this process for me it took longer because one, they were counting the ballot after the election. People were counting it by hand. You get it. There were people that they have to separate the MPP, the NDC, and the other parties' papers ballot. So they were counting it by hand, and counting it by hand, you can make a mistake along the way, and sometimes there are some rejected ballots. So I just feel like they need to invest in a machine that will help them do the counting. You get it? The machine does the counting, then the people will come back to count again by hand, then to make sure that everything is correlated or equal to what the machine has said. The machine should be able to separate the ballots from one person to another. So I just feel like if you have a place like the Ashanti region where you have over 1 million plus people voting, counting by hand will take time. You just really need to be extra careful. You get it? So the election in Ghana, though, for the past years, it's been good, but I just feel like there's still more to be done. Not just in Ghana, but in Africa as a whole. There's still more to be done. There's still more investment that needs to go in. And even for voters registrations, there's still more. Voters registration exercise shouldn't happen like say 6 months or 8 months to an election. It should be something that should happen all year round, that if someone really wants to vote in the next election, they should be able to walk to an EC office and say that I want to register to vote or something like that. You get it? Right. So the month to an election or the 6 months to an election, now will be the time for verification. You get it? Go and verify to make sure the name is in the register. But here comes the case that our voters registration was also delayed because of the pandemic. So they had like 6 months for everybody to go and register. They have few time to go through everything, to take out names, duplicated names and things like that. So I just feel like a lot of time should have gone into it. But we will learn from this. I mean, we always learn. So I believe that in the next 4 years, something like this shouldn't happen. But if it happens again, then I will raise an eyebrow and say that we don't learn from processes like this, because we don't. Personally, Ghana has gone through a lot in the 70s in terms of coup and things. And the reason why Ghanaians are so peaceful about this is because they don't want to go back. There is this saying that we always say in Ghana: forward ever, then backward never. We don't want to go back. We want to go forward. So we have to invest in it. And we have to invest in it. And also, I feel like the Ghanaian public should be educated more about the work of the EC and about the processes they go through before they mention the final election results. Because I just feel like there was also a lot of pressure on this EC. This EC is also new. There's a lot of pressure on her to announce the results. But in the past, what former ECs have done is that when the election results is being delayed, they hold press conferences to alert the Ghanaian community. This is what we are doing. This is what is being done to ease tension. You get it? To ease tension. So right now, the NDC guys are saying that no, they massaged the figures. They were quiet for some time. Because of that, we believe that there was something that was going on behind the scenes. But I don't think that is the case. I just felt like the EC should have kept Ghanaians in constant communication. If she's not even there, she has a PR person who will be able to say that this is where we are. Result is coming in from Kumasi. Result is coming in from here. We are still waiting on results. So constant communication, transparency, because right now people are saying that she wasn't really transparent about the whole process. So transparency, although the figures that are being changed is not really, as Peter said, we don't think it's going to really impact the outcome of the election. But I feel like she should have been transparent with the Ghanaians, should have kept us constant communication as to what is going on, the processes and
Yeah.
things like that. Because there was
I
so
mean,
much
what Eva
tension.
is saying is definitely true, I would say, for many African countries in terms of investing and improving our electoral system. It's the same scenario that we see in different parts of Africa where the entire process is completely manual, where people have to wait like 30 days and more to get the results. And that was before COVID. Now adding COVID to that, I mean, it just makes those challenges even worse. And we definitely invest in those process, like, automating some of this vote counting and all of these things to improve on the accuracy and transparency. It's these things of the pressure on the electoral committee. They want to release the results quickly without doing their checking. That is where the problems start. I mean, if you can have infrastructure that can do the job quickly and accurately, then maybe we will reduce some of the problems that are rising in Ghana right now.
Yeah, this issue of time is really interesting here, because we've kind of balanced time of announcing the results with the accuracy, right? And we look at other countries around the world, not just Ghana, but look at the recent elections in the United States. In those elections, it took some days, right, for the election results to happen. And in that time gap, people came up with frivolous reasons why there was fraud and concerns going on. And as everyone has seen in the news, the courts won't even look at those petitions because they're so frivolous, right? So, but it's not about what actually happened, but it's about the perceptions. And it seems like as that time gap increases in any countries, we're not just talking about countries that are sort of new democracies, but even at more established democracies, right? Where there's that time, people start to think, okay, what is going on behind the scenes? Like, what are they doing? What is taking them so long? Are they, recalculating the numbers, erasing them? You hear all the stories, right, about this, right? And so this is the problem that I think election commissions and electoral officials have to contend with, right? It's a really hard job. I always like to say the election commission job is a thankless job because at least one side is not going to like you, or you're going to have a hard time convincing them, right? Even if you do the greatest job, right? Like you're still not given that like everyone loves you. Although I would say Professor Jega in Nigeria, I mean, under the circumstances given, has gotten some applause. Same as the former EC head in Ghana, Afari Jean, right? They've gotten some sort of international acclaim for taking what were very difficult processes and moving the ball forward, so to speak. But it's a really hard job because you have to contend with this. So I take Eva's point which is that there is this communication element that has to be built up. But I think it has to be also combined with public education, right? Because even in advanced developed democracy like the United States, there's been plenty of communication from election officials, but same sort of conspiracy theories, same sort of, undermining of the election has taken place, right? And this is a country with established process of years and years of elections, right? So I think we have to also take that in account. Like citizens need to be educated in the process. There also needs to be that transparency there. That's my thought here. And I think the other thing to think about is the role of the EC who's doing it. We see more and more women playing the role of election commissioners. We saw that in Malawi recently. So the head of their commission was a woman. We also see in Ghana, the last two heads of their commission has been a woman as well, right? So we see this role becoming to be a little bit more gender inclusive as well. So one of the things that I I think about leaving aside these recent calculation problems, which show incompetence on behalf of not just that one individual, but the commission as a commission, right? Because it's not just one
Right.
person, right? The commission as a commission. But
Right.
one of the things I worry about is, how some of these complaints may be perhaps genderized, as they did in Malawi, where people were outside in force, calling the election commissioner a Jezebel, right? Which has
Right.
really no place in a discussion about like managing of an election, right? And I think
Agreed.
this also shows another piece of this that we have to think about. And Ghana has been a real pioneer, having the last two EC chair people being women. So I just want to throw that out there as well.
Oh,
And
Peter,
I like
thank you
that
so
point
much
that
for raising that
you
point.
made.
Yeah, there's a very big
Yeah.
possibility that it's been gendered, because some of the things, the sentiments that are thrown around, I firmly believe wouldn't have been thrown around if it was a man. And I am not, I don't think I am overstretching my imagination if I state that there's people who would think a man would do a much job than a woman. We still have all these, gender biases still going on, and they do follow us into the workplace. And I think that's still a very big challenge going forward, and something that really needs to be critically addressed.
Yeah, but we also can't excuse the incompetence too. So I want to be very clear here.
No,
We're
absolutely
saying
not.
there may be
Absolutely
things may be received differently, people may be reacting differently,
Exactly.
but it doesn't
Yeah.
excuse adding up the
Right.
numbers wrong and vetting the numbers, right? We'll be very clear on that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree. And Peter, for example, if the lady who was called Jezebel, if it was a gentleman and there was still a problem, I doubt that what is the opposite of Jezebel in terms of a man? I don't even know. I don't think he would be called that. So I'm just saying, being a woman adds some more unrelated complications that really have nothing to do with your competence, but just more to do with who you are in terms of gender.
I just quickly to
Yeah, I
add,
mean, I tend to agree.
just one thing.
Yeah, go ahead, please,
I would
Gloria.
say, if we look at the challenges that we're seeing, we talked about Ghana and Peter brought up the United States. I think the other thing that is important to do is to strengthen our institutions across the board, because
Yeah.
Right.
people can take advantage of courts. Like there will be a case in Ghana. Just imagine if somebody has connections or whatever, has influence over the judicial system, take advantage and just abuses the system. That's why, on top of improving our processes when it comes to elections, also strengthening our institutions, that in the case of a conflict or a standoff, our institutions are strong and are able to handle that conflict.
But at least
I agree.
this election, as Eva alluded to, building off that, Gloria, has been peaceful, right? I think that, and it looks like the disputes resolution process, as it has been in the past, has been peaceful, right? And I think
Yeah.
that a lot of work has been done around peace building in Ghana's election, such as, and I've got to play this one more time, such as videos like this. You have to bring back. You got to bring back. Look at those guys dance. And we all know that we all know that they can dance just like that. So it's very feasible, right? Although Rawlings is now late, but the point is, there's been a lot of work on peace building in the country, and I think that is very important for taking what is a very close and hardly fought election, as you saw in the figures, to end in what I believe will be a peaceful resolution, one way or the other.
Yeah, it would definitely
I
be a
think
peaceful
so.
resolution, because a lot of investment has gone into educating people about peace. I mean, during the week to the election, there was this thing that was going around. People will say that my name is Eva, I stand for peace, like this short sentences going around, and people were advocating for peace. And actually, people came out, a lot of people came out to warn the youth. Listen, don't become a political puppet that you'll be used to intimidate people and things like that. If a politician wants you to fight for them, tell them to go and bring their children to fight for them. So there's also been this narrative. Yeah, there's been this narrative that look, they send their children abroad to schools, and even in this election time, most of their children are not around, but they are going to use you to do crazy things. And at the end of the day, you're going to put your life in danger. So don't do this for them.
True.
Peacefully,
Yeah.
go and vote peacefully and come back home peacefully. That was the message that was going around from the churches to the mosques. And even the national chief imam was preaching the same thing. The Ghana Christian Council was preaching the same thing. So, and even the politicians, all of them, the flag bearers, all of them have to go and sign like a peace agreement, then they have to show to Ghanaians that they are committed to peaceful transfer of power and they are committed to ensuring peace and the peaceful nature of this election. So there are a lot of talk on peace that goes on. So that's why I just feel like even with a change of figures or whatever is going on, when they take it to court, it's going to be resolved peacefully. I'm sure that the Christian Council and the Muslim leaders, all the traditional leaders and the leaders, as I said, the leaders of Ghana will come together and ensure that this process is peaceful. If Mahama still doesn't agree on it, then he will take it to court. And I'm sure that even in the court process, it will still be peaceful because we've gone through this before. In 2012, it was the same thing. The MPP will not accept the election result. They took it to court. It was so peaceful. On the last day that they were going to declare who won the election, actually the court, Accra was dead. The whole of Ghana was dead. I didn't go to work. Our workplace was shut down. Everywhere, universities were shut down. Everywhere was closed. They were saying, stay at home in case there is any violence. We don't want anyone to get hurt. So they mentioned the results around 12 p.m. The NDC won. The court said that the NDC won. Even the discrepancy didn't change anything. The time after the election was mentioned, people didn't come out till 9 p.m. So it tells you how peaceful Ghanaians are. And the next day, things returned to normal. So the whole day that we were waiting to hear the court announcement, the town was shut, marketplaces, people didn't even go to the market. So it was amazing. We were all, like, there was a lot of tension, but it will tell you that Ghanaians don't want to risk the peace that we've enjoyed so far. So I'm sure that this process is peaceful no matter what is going to happen.
Okay, guys, this is where we are going to end it today. I'm sure that our viewers and followers and everyone of us in the studio today, we are really excited about this conversation focusing on Ghanaian election. And it's so interesting to me personally that we ended it up with the aspect of peace, which has always been intrinsically to the tradition of to our tradition in Africa. There are ways that we go about leveraging several institutions to foster peace: the religious institution, the traditional institution, the youth. And I am so happy that Ghana did exactly this, something that has been defining, definite of who we are in Africa. And I also like the component on the call to strengthen institution, which is a message that has been coming through in Nigeria and in other parts of different African countries as well. The place of technology was also strengthened in the conversation, and but I have concern about technology, and I think that will be conversation for another day. Folks, thank you so much for your time. Viewers, thank you so much for your time. We want to particularly thank you, the viewers, for joining us live today or after the fact. We'll see you again in 2 weeks for this week. In the meantime, hit that subscribe button to subscribe to the Leaders of Africa YouTube channels and join our discourse community for conversation on future program alert. And follow the Leaders of Africa on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. That's all for today on This Week. Bye and see you in a fortnight.